Drew from Soccer Kinesiology. In today's video, we're breaking down a true Siva's 20-meter sprint, and in addition to that, at the very end, a staple exercise that we're going to be including in his workout in order to get his pace to the next level. Here's what's happening. Extension on his stance leg is being cut short, and in addition to that, his heel during recovery is taking an inefficient route, getting from the back of his body to the front of his body. By going through full extension, we give ourselves more opportunity to push force into the ground and propel ourselves forward. This might mean going from here and pushing all the way back there versus going from here, cutting ourselves short and landing just about there. By spending more time applying force into the ground, we up our impulse. And also in addition to that, by going through more extension, we give our other leg, so our recovery leg, more time to properly prepare for that next stride. That means from there, when we're recovering, getting up into that cock position and ready to explode back into the ground. Looking at heel recovery in more depth now, we want his foot to take the most efficient path back to the front of his body. That's going to be a straight line and finish in a cock position where he can fire his foot back into the ground with negative foot speed. Negative being that direction and positive being the direction we want to move in. By giving ourselves negative foot speed, that's going to allow us to propel ourselves forward and get up to speed as quick as possible. However, Siva's heel during recovery is forced to take a loopy path back to the front of his body because his heel pops up off the ground after pushing off. This contributes to collateral damage to his speed because when his heel pops up off the ground like that, he's forced to release his foot while his knee is still moving forward. So this kicking motion is going to cost him big time because when this happens, where the knee and foot are both moving forward, that causes him to scrape the ground and ultimately slow him down. What we want is for him to be stomping the ground behind him instead of kicking the ground. So my job is to find out why all this may be happening and also come up with some interventions of how to improve these areas. What I've come up with is that there may be some structural limitations and or some motor rewiring that needs to be done. Siva's limited extension may be linked back to having tight hamstrings and probably tight hip flexors as well. By having these structures tight, it would impose resistance to quickly and swiftly snap through those ranges of motion. Another reason that he's cutting his extension short may be to limit air time. When we're trying to accelerate, we want to be grounded as much as possible. Because when we're grounded, we can apply force backwards and accelerate forward. But when we're in the air, we can't apply force on anything, and as a result, we can't accelerate. When we push force straight down into the ground, the only way to limit air time is to push less and cut our extension short. In that case, we want Siva to adopt a more aggressive lean in order to push backwards instead of down. That way, we can translate all of his force without limiting his extension into forward acceleration rather than air time. Lastly, we want to rewire his motor patterns away from a high heel recovery and kicking the ground and towards an efficient heel recovery in that cock position and ready to hammer back into the ground. With all that said, here's the exercise that's going to be a staple in our workouts. All right, so we're starting with our hands up against the wall. You could be using a bench like me or a goalpost. We're getting to that aggressive forward lean while maintaining our posture. Knees and hips extended while our ankles are dorsiflexed. One knee at a time, we're driving it up with our feet following so that we can see our toes over our knees like this. This is going to make sure we get into that cock position. While that's happening on the front side, on the back side, we want our feet driving into the ground, knees and hips extended if we can. It's going to look like this. This was a true Siva's sprint analysis and one exercise that I'll be putting him through. Thanks everybody. Drew from Soccer Kinesiology.